We'll record.
So I don't know how to turn.
Okay.
Well, is it because I haven't been drinking a lot of water?
Could be that too. It's something starting to build up, like very much like the same shape of, have you seen the renal caliculi or the renal stones? This is what they look like. They look like little accumulations of the same sort of pointy edges. So as they start to build, or as they start to accumulate, they form the same shape.
Okay.
So it could be starting to, it's now probably now starting. If you already had it, it would be much more predominant as a little kidneys in there.
No, I've never had any issues.
Okay, well, you don't have it yet, but
So drink water.
there's lots of water, it'll flush.
I think that's the reason why, because I was focusing on that.
What, yeah, or barley water. So breaking it up and flushing it.
Okay.
Wow, that's good to know.
There we go. That's good because I was thinking about that last week. I'm like, something's wrong. I need to drink more water. I'm drinking way too much tea.
Trying
Tea
it
all the time. And I went on a chai bin, like decaf chai thing. And I thought, I'm drying up. I looked at my face. Seems to have a little dryness.
Oh, because it's the pitta.
See it right here? Oh, yeah.
It's the
This is
pitta
another
drying.
story, but
It's the pitta drying it out. The extreme heat
yes.
plus it's the quality of the liquid that you're drinking. It's not just liquid, but it's like it is a amla kashaya liquid that actually causes the aggravation. It's like caffeine. All types of caffeine aggravate.
So forget the, lay off the coffee.
Yeah, lay off the coffee. And just drink lots of liquids. Liquids that actually help to break up anything from building up. Like barley water is great. It's another reason why barley in general is so good for diabetes and so good for
Put the barley on the list.
So you just take like a tablespoon of barley in like your usual boiled water. How much of a boiled water you put it in. It does make the water cloudy, but it will make you pee like wow. Yeah.
Do you cook it or just soak?
No. As you boil your water, you cook it. You don't have to eat the barley. If you want, you can. You don't have to eat it, but just
Oh,
So it's not water that's skimmed off the barley that's really goopy. It's
no.
just making the
It's
barley
actually
water.
pretty watery. Yeah, it's like
That's what
it's
early
like,
American, like colonial.
just drink barley water.
yeah, I don't use barley because I can't get past the slime part of it.
No, not so
Like
thick.
it's
Like you
soup.
have a strong pot of water, or you have
Very little
your big, like your boiled water you would make for the day.
Mm-hmm.
In that much quantity of water, you put a tablespoon of barley.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah, so
I
it
do
does
that.
make the water cloudy, but it's not slimy. It's not that much concentration,
Oh,
and it doesn't. It's great for urinary infections, UTIs. Yeah,
we gotta talk
it'll
to
flush
Charlotte
out.
about that.
It'll just flush out a UTI.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Just one time of drinking?
No. You gotta keep drinking it until you find that your urine is back to normal. So like if you have a UTI, you wanna drink it, and you wanna drink excessively to flush it out. So you drink it, like, you try to drink probably 3 or 4 of these in a day. It'll cause you to go to the bathroom a lot, but in the process of urinating, it's also cleaning out and flushing it out.
And then you'll know when it's
Yeah.
clear and then you stop that.
Yeah,
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
That's really.
Yeah,
So should she like test the urine for the star until it's done?
No, we just do 1 drop.
No, like, and
Oh,
we
yeah,
do something
yeah.
tested again?
Yeah.
All right.
Cool it is.
Mine.
Okay, you can dump it now.
Yes, I am.
Or
Drink it.
do a shot.
Do a shot.
Here we are.
Looks like a heart shape. Oh, yours, see the difference in the edge of Betty's? It still has the pointy, but it looks like squiggly lines.
Oh my goodness, look at that.
Very different. It's umbrella-like with tiny little squigglies. So it's just, it seems yours is just like, yeah, you've got some points, but just little squigglies. Yeah, you gotta kind of move around.
Pick it up.
If you want to check over here, it has like a little bit of a reflection.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, yeah. All
Is
right.
there any way we can see it?
It's hard to see it here because if we move it, it's
Yeah.
gonna move the, and I don't think we can take a picture of it because it's so mild.
Yeah.
What hers looks like it's also started to spread very evenly, but instead of being sort of sharper edges, it looks like little squiggly lines.
Once you make that
And
drop.
what does that
Little
mean?
squiggly lines.
What would that mean?
I think it's just predominant pitta because it does look a little umbrella-like.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Hers looks umbrella-like as well.
And the stone from the other one, was it, can you specifically say
It's
where?
probably not yet a stone. What it's indicating is something's now starting. And she said that. She said that like for the past week or so, she's been drinking. She feels like she's been drinking less fluid, but she has been drinking a lot of tea, like chai tea. And that it starts to kind of aggravate pitta. If you have too much of it, it does aggravate pitta, and it does start to dry you out.
And it could be the stone anywhere.
It doesn't
you don't
even
know.
have to be. What it's indicating, it's a stone hasn't formed yet, but this is like a beginning stages because it's so mild. If it was a stone, it would be significantly different. It would be very strong and very pointy.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So Betty's is more pitta-like, more umbrella-like.
So the new acronym, RICE is out, rest ice compression elevation is out, MEAT is in. Movement, exercise, anti-inflammatories, hands-on treatment. That came from the.
Oh, is that the new thing
orthopedic
for?
thing, but rapid.
Well, I mean, you
No,
could
we
give
want
her, you
oil.
could give her a little hands-on treatment right now and then,
Yeah, we have Hillary's,
Oil, the Sharda one.
I've got the Sharda muscle joint.
Yeah,
that's
that one.
That's the
right,
one, okay.
I get that. So if anybody,
I twisted my ankle.
Yeah, that's what
so we've got some good hands here. We'll let them do a little love and touch on you.
There we go. No, I was just. I'll be the patient. It is. I'll be quiet.
I wish I had a pillow for you. Good.
I have a big sock actually. I'm sorry. Interesting.
How tender?
It's not. It just feels stiff. It really is that painful.
Do you have another one?
I don't know if you did it before. I feel a little.
I haven't done any, I was printing.
It's not. No, I was asking how many copies you printed.
Who's this?
Everybody has one. They're on your, they're on your table.
Did it cost money more?
No, it didn't
No.
cost any money. Well, I don't know, unless it's gonna go on there.
But I didn't
No,
know.
I don't think so.
I don't think so
Yours are
either.
usually free.
So I did one.
Yeah, they didn't,
I'll check.
So whose glass is that?
Who's, this is me.
Oh, that's you. What are you doing?
And this
I
was
mean,
an
what-
umbrella. This was an umbrella.
The umbrella's pitta?
Yeah,
Yes.
Kind of spread out and there were just like little
Squiggly lines
You
on
have
the
to
edges.
look at it at different angles. It's just a thin film.
can you still see it?
How
or
was
has
your
it
class
disappeared?
last night?
It was good. It was the second group call. And I felt really tired. You know, they were talking as usual, like the first.
This
one.
is the usual
Unless I do one.
brain place, right there.
All right, well, she's gonna, oh, are we not?
That's not.
No.
Can Charlotte do hers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we do it here so we can see?
Yeah.
One.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Just one drop.
Yes. You want to put that? Oh, wow.
Am I dying?
Yeah.
Oh, you can see, if you're right underneath a light, you can see it.
Yeah, like from here, we can see it much better.
Oh,
yeah.
It's very pointy.
What does that mean?
The pointiness usually my father.
Right there.
Seriously? But I think hers is a tiny bit more like the snake, not really snake-like, but slightly. You can see the.
I saw a little
It
squiggly
looks,
going
yeah, but
on.
there's some
Oh,
squiggly
there's
there.
squiggly.
There's some squig on, I think this was it, or maybe 3. This is more snake-like.
Yeah,
Definitely by the. Interesting.
yeah. Yeah, it is.
But what I hear stand over it.
Yeah,
I'm seeing
stand
mine.
on it.
Like I can see mine here. Like if you put it over here, come see mine
So-
and how visually.
While you were
and
distracted,
how
you
easy it
did
is, right on.
dorsiflexion, plantarflexion, urinary
Let me see yours.
That's
No,
anything
no,
I
no.
just felt.
pronation.
Now, was it
There's
starting?
some use of all my fluffiness.
I know. Bumbles bounce.
Yeah, there you go. But I do have this issue with this nerve here. From here, it's not full sensation. Like it always feels like it's numb. Slightly numb. It's not 100%.
There's that. I worked all last week and I didn't drink. At the end of the day, I realized 3 days in a row I hadn't had enough drink.
Fascinating.
So is there any greater significance to care other than jewelry?
They actually do say that these toe rings, especially on that second toe, is supposed to induce or maintain uterine function.
Oh, huh.
Yeah,
Like a
so
toe
that's
ring with?
the toe ring on the second toe.
On the
It's
right
supposed
foot?
to induce or maintain uterine function. That's the reason why after from in part of the wedding ceremony, they put the toe ring on to maintain uterine function for proper.
I'd want to do more.
It does look cool, but I didn't know that until like I started researching it. They're like,
Is anybody?
So after we get past menopause,
Anybody have a urine sample they want to test?
but my mother-in-law still has her.
Nancy's at the one here.
I'm here in the summertime.
You want to test it?
I started wearing them before.
You
I
have to
got
bring it
married.
by Anusha.
For the purpose of actually men in India thinking if they initial ring, they immediately know that you're married, so they stop.
You want to see it?
Oh, I
So
like
I
that.
used it as a way to like ward them off.
This is Nancy.
Yeah, I know.
There's no oil in it.
Really? Thank
You guys can get all excited, but.
You can see I'm
Taking
dehydrated.
care of you, my God. What do I do? Put it in? If the
Yeah.
coffee goes
You
down,
see
there's
that?
one drop. Oh, it's
Right,
in?
can you see
There's
that now?
nothing in there.
Yeah,
There's nothing in there.
yeah,
There's no drop in there?
There's no drop in there.
But you can see I'm dehydrated.
Yeah, yours is
My
it's-
first morning.
Cloudy and
Yeah.
dark, right?
you have definitely more.
One drop?
Yeah, just one. Oh, look how evenly they're done.
beautiful.
Oh, wow, very good.
So
So that's kind of like, yeah, there's no, yeah, look, it's completely round. There's no change in the edges.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, you're very, you're
You better drink a little. She was.
But on the water, I was worried.
And
I woke up
that-
in the morning and I was gonna throw it out because I said, they're gonna know that I'm not drinking.
Yeah, but it's like, it's the umbrella shape, but it's a very even umbrella. There's no edge, no the edges or anything like that. Yeah,
Mhm.
nice, very good.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
We're so happy for you.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
it's,
So we
it would have
got-
been okay
we
if
got
it wasn't
a
perfect.
perfect umbrella.
Bring it,
It's
Nancy,
sort of
bring
umbrella
it,
shape for
bring it over
Nancy.
here on the table so we can look at it straight down. 'Cause does it matter if it changes later on or?
Yeah, see, now my feet are gonna start
No, they're
sweating.
putting it on the, I dumped mine.
And that's just a regular.
I should have saved it.
No, no, it's, if I apply any kind of sneha,
Yeah,
that induces sweating.
I think it's the initial.
Any kind of sneha. I don't use cream. I've never.
Anybody
used
want a
cream.
drink?
So,
You know what?
so just to use you as a case study.
Yes, okay, anybody want to try?
Well, if there's water, excess water in you and it's coming out any way it can, then there must be excess water in you. So you need these treatments
I
maybe,
need, yes,
and maybe even these medicines.
but the thing about it is I agree, but I also have the genetic component, which is
Yes.
why so like I said, a lot of Vedias tried, but it's gonna start dripping now. No, it does.
Putting her on the spot.
This is how it is. It's not, people used to think it was because I was nervous, but this is how it is normally. So in Vedas, lots of Vedas tried. Some people gave me extreme Shita Aushadas, and instead that just gave me a massive head cold. That took a really long time to get over. Another, some Vedas understood that it is a Santalpanajanya Vyadi, is overnourishment. So, so what they did was they gave me Punarnava, which actually induces, again, it just it changes the direction of flow of the fluid. So instead of it coming out through my hand, it would come out through the urine.
So you urinated
So
more?
yeah, it did urinate more, and that did help to reduce the intensity of it. So instead of it dripping, it would just become moist. So that did change it, but it still didn't stop it. It can't stop it because even with the other factors, remember we were talking about it. We were talking about this as I have the genetic component from my mother, plus I have my own prakriti that also induces this issue.
Yep.
So that's why, that's the reason why it's hard for me to get rid of it. I have two factors feeding into having it.
Yep.
Yeah, see, I think it's okay. He did all the stuff and I didn't feel it. It felt nice. Maybe the ice, the lack of ice is what reduced the pain.
Doesn't that look cool?
I know, I got your purple.
It does, I like it.
What's the significance?
It was
It
it's a
doesn't
royal
feel too
color.
No,
It's
no,
royal?
I feel a little bit of
There you
it,
go.
but
It's
not.
royal.
Oh, but that, yeah. It's
Purple's a royal color.
Oh, is it?
It's, and it's the upper chocolate.
Yeah, they were just.
I was gonna say they're in the color of that.
Oh.
They're actually.
I don't have scissors. You have this little knife.
Hillary,
Yes.
just FYI, I said there's no charge, but if we need to do printing like that again, it's faster.
Matt, if you need to.
Oh, very nice.
Oh, but it is free?
It was
Do you want me to
free.
get them? They're
Yeah, she
upstairs.
said, don't worry.
Oh, no, we have 9.
Yeah, so just put it down here, don't do it at home.
Well, I don't want to take advantage of it. That's a lot of
Yeah,
toner.
they were very.
But if, yeah, if we have an emergency, print them. They've been very nice.
And
Yeah,
We are done at 3 in here, is that correct?
Yeah.
It matches your
Okay, because
sock.
they did ask that, and
Yeah.
that's what I said.
I'll
Yeah,
permit.
yeah.
And checkouts at 11.
Great. So
Right,
we
so
can take a break.
Yeah, just, want to just set your alarm or something?
Sure.
Yay.
Hillary, do you still have your hole punch with you?
Yes, I think I do. Oh, you know what, I'm not back there at home. Thinking,
Oh, mine's upstairs.
oh, you have one?
Yeah.
So maybe-
Little Christian blessing.
I left it at home, I figured we were done with it.
I'll get it.
Thank
You
you.
can do it at break.
Yeah, don't run up there, Sharon.
Right
It's not a big deal. It's just maybe
Okay.
frustrating.
Okay,
I can punch him at home.
I wanna do this.
Sounds like a you problem.
So, wow, I just like go to sleep now.
In the urine analysis,
No.
and you
Do you have
determine,
an
oh,
extra
that's,
one?
no, it has more pizza, or it has
Get your
more
copy
pizza,
up.
or that's is that
I love.
the imbalance that you're,
No, it doesn't necessarily mean imbalance, because remember, you're gonna have a
Yes.
predominance, you're gonna have a predominance of a dosha
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
regardless of what we saw in Gina's is a predominance with some form of change. Whereas what we saw with Nancy's is a predominance, but a normal predominance. So it's the same thing like having your kapha prakriti, doesn't mean that you necessarily have to have aggravated kapha. It just means kapha is more predominant in you, but it's still natural, healthy kapha.
does that make sense to you? You have more predominant kapha?
No, that's just an example. It's
Oh,
an
I see.
example.
Okay.
But yeah, pitta. But she had an example of normal predominant pitta.
Because it's spread, but what would the?
Because it had the
problem be?
umbrella kind of shape, but it spread evenly and there was no change in the outer border of the oil.
Okay.
Whereas in the other ones, we saw a change in the border, like it was forming particular shapes. Like in Charlotte, you saw little squigglies that it's kind of like that snake-like, basically some kind of squiggly line. And hers didn't disperse evenly, like it didn't expand. It started expanding, but it started to form little squiggly lines. I saw 3. Did anybody see more?
No,
I
I
saw-
saw the beginning.
Yeah,
breakup
3
of it
like
as well.
kind of squiggly lines. So it really did indicate that it's not just predominance of vata, but it looks like it's an aggravated vata. So what you look for is how quickly or how severe those signs are to indicate kind of, maybe we could, do a couple of days of study of the urine to see if it can quantify or classify it as a chaya avastha, prakopa avastha, prasara avastha. So the thing about it is, this is a good example of a teaching opportunity of why we use these different types of pariksha. So we have mudra pariksha that we use. Specifically, it's very useful, especially when mudra related disorders. But it's not going to give you the whole picture. You can't just use mudra pariksha to make a diagnosis. You use this to kind of give you a better idea as to what's happening, along with the other forms of pariksha. So when people ask, what do you do with nadi pariksha? Can you find out what's happening? This is why I say that, at least from my limited knowledge and how I was taught, is that this is not the only method of pariksha. There's a reason we have 8 different methods, because those 8 different methods give you a much clearer idea, as opposed to if you just use one, it's giving you a perspective of just one aspect. And if you use only that and don't look at the other things, it may not give you a very clear, full idea or a full picture. So that's why this mudra pariksha, it is indicating a predominance of vata, but what we would also use is look at the other things as well. We also need to find out about if it is vata. We have mudra pariksha, we have mala pariksha, so we would then want to ask questions about her stools and the frequency and the consistency and the color and all of that. Then we also want to check her pulse as well. Then we want to check all the other things to see how consistent are we finding this issue with vata, or is it only showing up in the predominance in her urine.
So let's say we were anticipating or had a hunch that maybe she had diabetes. And so one of her urine samples had the sugar ants come.
Yeah.
So now you did the mudra pariksha and you saw that. Would you say she would be more of the vata? No, yeah, the vata roga for the diabetes?
It could be, and what we would do is to verify that, we would ask all the other questions. And as we verify the other questions, like for instance, even when you do a regular intake, they come in and they tell you what their problem is, right? And as you go through the intake, usually as they start answering more and more questions, you automatically start checking up, oh yeah, that makes sense, that makes sense. Yeah, that can be why, that can be why. And so as you get more and more information, the idea that you're forming in your head, which is basically our method of diagnosis, is you're clarifying and sort of identifying what could be the issues of how this is, and also how it would have progressed to becoming this condition to then produce these symptoms that they originally told you, I have these symptoms. So that's why the intake is a really good skill to develop, because and having this sort of information that we've been talking about, these lists of the nidana and causative factors, again, this also just solidifies that whole process, because it even, like for instance, before, if you have a person who has hypothyroidism or diabetic patient, or somebody who comes to you with infertility issues, they don't always come to you saying that they have PCOS, but they will come and say that they have issues with infertility. And then you have to go back and see what is causing the infertility. And for the most part, why PCOS has become so predominant and prevalent now is because this is actually one of the major causative factors for infertility in women. Okay? And that's the reason why now this has come out in the limelight, is because this previously wasn't really understood so much. That's why in the classical text, or even in the other text in Ayurveda on Prasuti, they haven't really used the term PCOS. They talk about other issues with irregular menstruation, lack of menstruation, amenorrhea, dysmenorrhea, oligomenorrhea. I put out pen right now. Yes. But what they're basically looking at is their changes in the menstrual cycle, and according to that, that's what they see as a disorder. Now, in fact, in classical texts, when they talk about fertility issues or they talk about gynecological disorders, it actually just all comes under one umbrella of gynecological disorders. Okay, and we'll talk about that in a second as to what, there isn't a specific one. In fact, the causative factors for all of gynecological disorders is basically one basic thing, diet and lifestyle. And diet and lifestyle can cause any one of these because what it's doing is it's disrupting that cycle. And what determines which one the person gets is the predominance of the doshas in that person. Their baseline characteristics. Yep.
It's me, but it might be helpful in this.
Yep.
Like the urinalysis.
Mhm.
So just my cycle has completely messed up in the last 3 cycles. I'm about 40 days since I've had my last period and just diagnosed with the ovarian cyst again. So, and nothing's moving, nothing's going downward. So it's, yeah, right. I thought that would be useful to you to know. So it's telling you exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
Well, not exactly, but it's
Yeah.
pointing.
And as you'll see here in this description, you'll see how it presents. And the thing about even with ovarian cysts, sometimes it presents as a Kaphaja situation and sometimes it presents as a Vataja situation. What it usually does not present as the Pittaja situation, because this is the same thing, what we've been talking about all weekend, Pitta Kshaya Kapha Vata Vriddhi. This is also exactly the same thing. So that's why I clubbed these 3 together, is because they have a very similar pathogenesis of Pitta Kshaya Kapha Vata Vriddhi. So again, if we look at the signs and symptoms as described by Charaka, when this happens, what happens when these doshas combine or are in this particular balance order, we see those general signs and symptoms that he talked about is the same thing you find in actually predominant in all of these diseases. You find the same sort of symptoms. You find it in hypothyroidism. You find it in diabetes. You do find it in this as well. So it's the same Pitta Kshaya Kapha Vata Vriddhi. And the level of which one is more depends. So the kapha more predominant or is the vata more predominant? That's the sort of nuances that you see the difference in these 3 disorders. Or even in each disorder, depending on the chronicity, you end up either with the kapha stage in the beginning, initial parts of the disease, and then the vata predominance more, or the more aggravated vata signs and symptoms in the later, more chronic stages of
So I'm just being totally literal.
No, go ahead.
Pitta Kshaya is usually reducing
Pitta.
and Kapha is increasing. So how does that, I guess I'm being literal with it, a cyst is something that is being formed. How is that Vriddhi?
The kapha vriddhi. Kapha vriddhi.
Is increasing.
Kapha's increasing,
So
so.
it's building a mass. And kapha,
So it's building a mass. I was thinking of it's, the process is stopped. See,
and yes, exactly, the process is
it's
stopped.
But the process is stopped because it's building a mass. Because
The process slows down,
Right.
and that's why it builds the mass. And because this is a cycle, because there's a mass, it then further slows down the process. So one leads to the other, and just keeps, it's a vicious cycle of.
But how is that Vriddhi rather than Kshaya?
It is a vriddhi. It is, so we'll talk about that in a second, because you just picked up exactly the point of what this is. Okay, so, no, it's a good confusion. That's a very good question, because in your confusion, you figured out exactly what this disease is without even talking about it.
But it also helps us to think it through, because I was like, Kashaya, what's Kashaya, what's Kashaya? And then just you asking that, it's like, okay, decreasing. So if it says the agni's not there, so what does it do? It makes something get increased after it in that tissue. Exactly.
Great. Okay, so I can stop
Okay,
teaching
that
now. Because I keep saying, by the end of this, I won't have to say anything. You guys are gonna figure it all out. Okay, so before we get started, we're talking, let's start with. Yo Vishwam Vidadhati Vati Satatam Samharayatyanjata Drishtva Devya Mahauchadita Duri Karotyamaya Vibrano Jalana Chakasti Bhuvan Piyusha Purnam Kadam Sandhanvandarupam Vandamane Shri Vandamane Shri Vandamane Shri. I will write it in Devanagari and then write the transliteration and then the meaning and send it out.
It's at the beginning of the
One of the
introductory videos that you
Yeah.
saw one time.
But I will send it out because everyone asked, so I'll do that.
But I don't think there was a way to pause it.
Yeah, you can always pause.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Sorry.
Having it up like that.
Yeah, it's making me
Might be
cold.
too far.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the-
Pitching the narrative.
Too high a chair.
Yeah, 'cause there's no
Yeah, it
support on
feels
the
kind
knee.
of too high.
Yeah.
That's a.
We're gonna remind you to wiggle it, move it around.
Right.
Right? So it's
Move
movement.
It's also going to say sit on the
it. Movement, exercise, and
Oh,
hygiene.
okay. It's good. It feels good. Okay. Okay. So so we're going to talk about PCOS, which is polycystic ovary syndrome, or in India we say ovarian syndrome. And what this condition really is from the Western aspect, or the aspect of allopathy, it's a condition that has multiple water-like accumulation, like little water blebs around the ovum that's in the ovaries. And what happens is usually these little water blebs, they increase, and then as ovulation occurs, as the ovum starts to mature and it's supposed to be released, those little water blebs usually dry up and then they get excreted out as you have ovulation, right? Now, what happens in this condition, as what is described in Western medicine, is that due to this hormonal imbalance, and it usually happens with an issue starting from the pituitary of not producing too much of this follicular stimulating hormone, or FSH, that what happens, that's supposed to be released, that then allows the ovum to be matured, and it gets it ready to be then excreted out and have ovulation. And that one ovum is supposed to enter into the fallopian tubes and it's getting ready for fertilization. Okay, so that's the ovulatory stage or process that then is what sets off the second part of it, which is then
if it is fertilized, then that the uterine wall starts to proliferate, and it's basically the kind of sitting place, or the place where that fertilized ovum then gets planted in, and then it starts to grow. And if it doesn't, then it sheds, and that's basically very, very simply the whole cycle. Okay, so what happens is this little water blob, if they usually also get excited by the FSH, and what happens is they're supposed to, as the ovum, it gets matured and it comes out into the fallopian tubes, those little water blobs are supposed to dry out, and they're supposed to also be excreted out with it. Now the problem is that if there's too much of this FSH, too many of these little water blobs are getting excited, and the ovum isn't necessarily excreted out, as well as the water blobs just they don't dry up, and so they stay there and they start to get bigger and bigger, and they can then start to form a cyst. And so this is basically what polycystic, which means it's more than one cyst in the ovaries, that then can, if it stays there and if it continues, it can start to cause many other changes as well.
So every cycle a new one gets formed.
It's not a new one. It's already there, and they are already formed. If they don't dry up and are excreted out, then they stay there, and you end up getting, it becomes a cyst. It just keeps growing. And then you can have they already exist there. And you need to have proper ovulation and menstruation to kind of let that go. It also needs to be kind of shed out, not really shed, but move.
But then I guess I was studying that in the next menstrual cycle,
More gets
that
formed.
happens somewhere else, and
Right.
this one stays.
Yeah,
And
this one
stays, and it happens somewhere else.
Yes, more gets formed. And that's why you can have them in one ovary, or you can have them in both ovaries. Okay. So that's basically what it means. It's multiple cysts that are forming in the ovaries. Okay. In Ayurveda, how we look at it is, now there isn't a direct correlation for this exact disorder looking particularly at cysts in the ovaries, because since there is imaging and since there is these other diagnostic methods, they can name multiple disorders according to the specific area where you're finding the problem to be. But again, as we've seen, these problems or these issues aren't restricted to just that one area where it's manifesting. They do tend to be systemic. Because if you do want to look at PCOS, one of the major issues where it's starting from is the pituitary. So if we go back to our original slide where we were looking at the Agni and the function of Agni and what it's doing here in this plane, one of the functions of this area of Agni is the hormone function and basically regulation of the endocrine system. So that's where the pituitary is located. It's just one of the functions. It's also one of the reasons why in these disorders you end up with the issues of not just a physical endocrine disorder, but you also end up with issues with mood and psychological symptoms, because it's starting from here, but it's affecting the psychology part of, or the functions of Agni, as well as the psychological functions of Agni, as well as the physical functions of Agni. Okay. So here we get, even in this condition, you have both. You get both. Next slide. So in order to understand that, what is Artava? The closest condition that relates to this is Artavakshaya, and we'll describe what Artavakshaya is in a second. But first, what is Artava? Artava is another synonym for Rajas. So you probably would have heard it as Rajas before. Artava and Rajas are both the same thing. And according to classical texts, they are synonyms. And that is basically the menstrual cycle. It is called as Ritukala, or the cycle of menstruation. Okay? And so the thing that gets accumulated in the uterus and then sheds once a month is known as Artava, or known as Rajas. Okay? And that
is actually the upadhatu of rasadhatu. I know. It'll seem confusing because again, this seems somewhat contradictory to what a lot of people would have put out there. And I will explain to you in a second what the difference between it being a rasadhatu, upadhatu, as well as also having a very close affinity with rasadhatu. Okay? So don't, hold on.
Is this the same spelling as Rajas?
It is the same spelling.
There's no long A or anything.
No, exact
That
same
was
spelling.
exactly what you said, Rajesh, and I thought that.
It is the exact same spelling. It's the context. Yes, but it is the exact same spelling. Okay. So you have Rajas, Artava, there are synonyms for this. But it is basically the upadhatu of rasadhatu. Okay, so remember when we have Agni that has normal healthy formation of the dhatus, healthy formation of the upadhatus, then those upadhatus, if they're normal and healthy, then they carry out their function, right? So it's one massive chain reaction that's going on here, starting from the Agni. Okay, next step. Okay, so Artava or menstruation. So what is Artava? Artava is defined as the blood that reaches the uterus and comes out for 3 days, which is excreted or flows out for 3 days. That is known as Artava. The synonyms for this is Raja or Rajas, Shonitam. So in certain classical texts, when they use the word Shonitam, it also can mean in reference or in context of Artava or Rajas. And also Rakta. In certain cases where they use the term Rakta, that also is actually indicating they're talking about menstruation or menstrual blood. Okay. So Artava is the upadhatu of rasadhatu. It is primarily soma, or it is primarily that cooling property. That's the original context or property of Rajas. And I will explain in a second. I know you'll all be like, what? I thought it was hot. I thought it was Rakta, I thought it was supposed to be Agni. This is a friend. You in a second. Good question. Hold on. Okay. So it's actually primarily soma. It is more of the cooling elements of water and earth. So that which has collected in the uterus over a period of 1 month and flows out of the yoni. Yoni is the vagina, and yoni mukha is like the entrance of the vaginal canal. So basically the cervix area. So that which flows out of the yoni once a month or after collecting for a period of 1 month is asava. The menstrual blood is expelled in the quantity of 4 anjalis. That's the normal quantity of how much of menstrual blood should be shed out. That 4 anjalis is roughly around 120 ml. The qualities of normal and healthy artava, because this is a normal, healthy physiological process, the blood should be that of the color of laksha rasa, or laksha is a type of drug that has a very bright red. Have you ever seen that, like in the olden days, they used to heat up this red thing and put it on envelopes and then they put the stamp on it?
Yeah.
What is that called? What's that?
Wax.
Sealing
Sealing
wax. It actually, that red wax used to come from a bug.
Oh.
And yeah, it's like the I think it's the poop of a bug. The bug is red and the poop comes out red. And it's a waxy resin that it leaves behind. And that's laksha, that kind of red wax. So the color of that red wax, that's the color that menstrual blood should be. Normal, healthy menstrual blood should be that sort of deep red color. Okay? Or the blood of a rabbit. So for those of you who have seen what the blood of a rabbit looks like, that's what the menstrual blood should look like. And also, the normal healthy menstrual blood does not stain clothes, which For all of you, yes. Which,
Blood though.
no, it shouldn't stain. Regular blood doesn't stain, which means like if, for instance, if you get the blood on the cloth, right, and you wash it off, it should wash off. Whereas even after it dries, it should still wash off. Unhealthy blood is the one that does stain, that does leave a mark on the clothes, which is like, that's not normal. We created a new normal. But the real normal is the blood does not stain.
I always found that interesting. I went to school with a girl whose mother made her pads for her
Mhm.
out of cloth, and that's what she would do. She would take them home, and her mother would wash everything and put them back together again, and it never stained. I was young at that age, maybe 12 or 13 when I found that out. I always found that interesting.
In India, well, in villages, they do still do that. They're trying to change it now just because of the hygiene issue and not having enough water to clean it up properly and all of that. But even when I was in college, a lot of my classmates who were from villages or more rural areas in India, they used to do that. They had different pieces of cloth that they would use, and that was their pads. And that was the thing. This is actually how we were able to gauge if it is normal menstruation or a healthy menstrual blood or not. Is that if it stains, then it's not, something's going on. Whereas if it doesn't stain, then it's just the regular stuff that's supposed to come out. Okay. So I know nowadays we have so many things that prevent it that you really can't use this as a marker. But you know, one way to find out is if like women who still use pads and who get some at the edge of their underwear, if that washes off, then it's good. And if it stains, then it's not. Okay? So maybe you can ask them if it does stain.
Homemade pads are the new thing.
Huh?
Lately. Homemade pads are the new thing.
Is it
Yeah,
really?
the hipsters are all over that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a new, I just like last week on YouTube or Facebook, there's this whole company that makes underwear.
Oh, the thing.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
in that underwear thing, is it that it's washable? Like
They're washable.
oh, so maybe that would be a way to gauge this.
And then there's pads that
That's
snap. They snap.
And those are reusable?
They're reusable. Yep.
Well, there you go. Now we have a way to
There you
measure.
go.
Pull-ups.
Pull-ups.
Yeah.
It's a new thing. Go on Etsy or
I
Etsy.
did that years ago. I had natural pads and they did, you know, always wash out.
Exactly.
They also had colored ones, so, you know, you
Yeah.
could have, but, yeah.
Now we know we need white.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, just so that we can see what this color is. And it does, you do see the difference. Like, it's the same thing of being able to see the difference between like that color as opposed to, you know, when it gets that dark, almost dried color, or even when it's associated with clots. Clots is not normal. Clots is indicated that there's other stuff going on. It should not be normal, okay? So having clots isn't a healthy version of a menstrual period. Okay, so next slide. So that's what Atava is defined as. The menstrual cycle is known as Ritu Kala. Okay, so Ritu, by the way, in this context, also means Ritu is something that has a cyclic. Yes, Ritu actually means the season, but in a season is in the manner of like a cycle, and this is also in the manner of a cycle. So in the context of when you're talking about women's health, Ritu is referred to as the menstrual cycle or Ritu Kala. Okay. So this has been explained primarily in two phases, which is somewhat very similar to what we find in Western and physiology. So you have first the Prashasta Ritu, which is the ovulatory phase, and that includes the shedding of the uterine lining as well as ovulation. And that's the time that has been described as that's ideal for fertilization, which is what we know. You know, in modern physiology, it's described as 14 days. In Ayurveda, they've described it as 12 days.
but it's give or take. It's not very specific. In Vedic literature, when they talk about time, they follow the lunar calendar. So that's how 1 month is actually around 28 days or so. And so that's how they've described it here as.
Would this be also Vata, a Vata and Kapha phase? Shedding is the Vata movement out, and the ovulation is the rebuilding up.
Yes, it is. And that's a good point, because Vata, Apana Vata is responsible for the shedding part of it. And that's, so it is a cycle that has the predominance of all three doshas, and all three doshas have an importance in the function of it. But yes, Apana Vata is the final part, like in the cycle of ending the cycle and the shedding part, that which offsets or initiates the shedding of it at the end of the cycle is actually Vata. So you notice that at the end of the cycle, when it's completely built up and it's ready to be shed, Apana Vata is that which initiates the shedding, and that's what pushes it out. But as that is also happening, it is simultaneously also starting to refill.
I always thought that Pitta was the ovulation time, because the energy, was heightened there, and that the building of the womb was the Kapha.
Oh, you mean the proliferation of the uterine wall?
Yeah.
No, it's actually described in this way, and that's actually where the Rakta and Pitta aspect comes in. So,
Because I thought shedding of the uterine lining was the menstrual.
meaning the
uterine lining shedding is coming out.
right.
So, but that there is two.
If you actually look at modern physiology, it's described as if the beginning of the menstrual cycle starts from the first day of the menstrual period.
That's how you count.
That's how you
when
count.
might
Yeah.
ovulate is
You
7
count
days
from
after
that day, so
after
that's
that first
it's
day.
very
Yeah.
similar. It's very similar.
But I mean, you're saying the shedding of the uterine lining, but isn't that what shedding of the uterine lining and menstruation the same, having at the same time?
No, it's day one starts, okay, so from regular physiology, day one starts from the first day of the period, right? So as the uterine lining is being shed, at the same time, the proliferation and the health of the ovary, that cycle is already starting, okay? So this shedding thing is happening for 3 to 5 days. Well, and there is an opinion from different authors, one saying 3 days, another one saying 5 days. But it's 3 to 5 days, this is shedding. As this is going on, this is simultaneously building. So it is a building phase. As around the 14th day or so, that is considered the optimum day for ovulation. The ovum is mature, it's ready to then be pushed out of the ovaries into the fallopian tube. And that's the time, give or take 2 days or so, or 14 days plus or minus 1 to 2 days is when it's optimum for fertilization. Then after what that happens is that travels throughout the fallopian tube, right? And then it enters the uterus. If it is not fertilized, because it's supposed to be fertilized within the fallopian tube. So if it is not fertilized, it gets to the point of the uterus. Now that it has been excreted out into the fallopian tube somewhere around the 14th day. From that day onwards, there's no building phase going on in the ovaries anymore. It's now starting to, it's proliferating in the uterus, but it's actually getting ready for fertilization. If this is not occurring, that's what they're describing, the blood that accumulates in the uterus over a month. The uterine lining is proliferating, blood is accumulating there. If the ovum isn't fertilized, then all of it is shed out.
Right.
So that second stage, after the 14th day, is actually this stage here.
Right.
Where it's actually getting ready for fertilization, but that's not ideal for fertilization. The fertilization is actually only around the time of ovulation.
So my confusion is, why is the shedding of the uterine lining up under number 1 instead of down under?
Because it is included in this, it goes on at the same time on the first day of the menstrual cycle.
If you think about it as Ritukala, as the lunar cycle, if you're in balance with nature, you
menstruate on the new moon.
Mhm.
And then you build to the full moon when you ovulate. So you're shedding, and that's already been prepared to shed. So it's not a process, it's just leaking
Excrement.
out.
It's the way.
So
yeah.
you're building to ovulate, and after the ovulate, if nothing happens, then this whole second cycle is the preparation to shed, which is on the new moon, and then you build again. So that's
So where it says shedding of uterine lining, it's actually preparing to shed the uterine lining.
No, it's
No,
actual shedding of the
that's
uterus.
the
Actual shedding of the uterus. It builds up all the way till back to the first. Exactly how you described. It's a really nice description. It's a very nice description.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
What I don't get is, isn't menstruation and shedding of the uterine lining happening at the same time? Isn't it
Yes.
the same thing? Then why on that slide does this shedding of the uterine lining not?
She thinks it should be part of the menstrual phase,
Menstrual
not the
phase.
ovulatory phase.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, this is considered as the menstrual phase is basically the building up of the uterine lining or the proliferation or the bleeding part, the literal actual of collecting of blood. So this last 12 days is when there is collection of blood. Where it's collection of blood,
But it's
and
not-
when it's not
the flow.
actual, no. The flow starts again. That's why.
So the menstrual phase is not the flow phase.
No.
It's the collection.
Yes, it's the collection, and that's why it's shed.
That's what I was being literal about menstrual phase,
Yes.
menstruation. It's
No.
kind of like-
It's menstrual phase, but not menstruation. Menstruation,
That's a
Is
good
it-
clarification, because we're used to thinking of it.
Yeah.
menstruation, yeah,
This is the building of the blood.
right.
Thank you.
And that at that time, it's
You see
not.
why I was confused?
Yes,
I was saying menstrual
Yes,
phase
thank
to
you.
me was menstruation.
Thank you.
Okay.
And that's why at that time, it's not ideal for fertilization. Okay. And so this is where you get this crossover from rasa to rakta. So initially, this whole cycle and this whole process starts in a kapha building, nourishing, ready to reproduce stage. Because you need that soma quality to reproduce, right? You need that basic thing in order to create something new. You need that stability, that's the soma qualities, everything we know is associated with kapha and rasa. Okay. So that's why that stage is actually predominant of kapha. And yes, in the first few days when apanavata is shedding, it isn't, the kapha part of it isn't as predominant because apanavata is doing its job. So you don't feel, because that process of building is so subtle that you don't feel the predominant or the presence of kapha there. But it's still happening, as Betty said, it's building. So it's very subtle, but it's happening at the same time. But in the first 3 days, when there is shedding or there's actual menstruation, at that time, apanavata is predominant in pushing that. Okay.
But it's also, it's shedding out, but the next phase is initiated for the building, so kapha's sort of always on.
Yes. Yes.
Always on, maybe a little tiny break, but
Yes.
Same with
always.
Vata, and Kapha and Vata are always working, but it's predominant with the Rakta that is, I
Exactly.
mean, I can see where it's the Pitta Kashaya of Kapha Vata, because those functions are still going on.
Yeah.
But you're dealing with this blood.
Yes, you're dealing predominantly with originally a kapha issue. The substance itself is kapha. It's kaphagenic, or it is kapha predominant, or it is soma in quality. It matures to a pitta predominant rakta quality or an agnya quality at this stage, at the second stage. That's what really turns it to blood. Because if you look at the stage, in the initial part of it, there really isn't that blood quality there. There's no blood there. The accumulation of blood occurs after it crosses over to the second stage and the second set of the 12 days. Right? After you get to that new moon,
From that point onwards is when the blood starts to accumulate. So that's why you see the beginning part is rasa dhatu predominant, or a byproduct of rasa dhatu. And once you hit this stage, then it crosses over to kapha dhatu. Make sense now? Yeah. So yes, if you take it literally as only menstrual blood and only menstruation, yes, it is pitta predominant because you're looking at only one aspect of the cycle. But if you look at the origin of where that blood came from, it is still coming from rasa dhatu. So originally it is regulated and starting from rasa dhatu. And if the beginning itself is disturbed or morbid, or there is a disturbance in that process, then it's automatically going to affect the end stages or the second stage of it, right? So this cycle process is really important for it to be maintained. And equivalently, if the problem starts here in the second stage, then it obviously offsets the first stage again, okay? So that's why you have this thing of it being predominantly rasa, and then the second stage being rasa predominant phase or the pitta predominant at that time, okay? Okay, next slide. Okay, so this is just to remind you again of what we were talking about, of the causative factors, the diet, lifestyle, season, that seasonal variation, and this particular season as well, in creating an imbalance of doshas or maintaining the balance of doshas, and if progressing forward to create a vyadi. So, in looking at that, in general, for yoni vyapad is considered as any abnormalities of menstruation. That's why we don't have, we do have 20 different vyadis that have been described, 20 different disorders that can be associated with the menstrual cycle and menstruation. But the causative factors for that is general. They haven't described specific causative factors for these 20 disorders. The causative factors of the nidana that can cause a change in the menstrual cycle producing these 20 different types of disorders is the same. And the reason why is, again, because it is a cyclic process, if anything that will cause a change in the cycle will cause a change in, it can develop in any stage producing these different diseases. Okay? So, again, Sarika describes that for mithya ahara or mithya achara, which is basically any kind of activity. An unwholesome activity is the main causative factor for disturbance in the menstrual cycle or menstrual morbidity. Okay, so that's the shloka goes, this mithya achara is the causative factors for all yoni vyapad, for all yoni disorders. Okay, and so in describing that more specifically, what is unwholesome activities? Of course, again, our unwholesome diet and unwholesome lifestyle, or mithya ahara vihara. Right? Mithya means unwholesome, and mithya, which is the same, the first word.
Yep.
Mithya ahara vihara. So unwholesome diet or unwholesome lifestyle. Okay. So in this unwholesome diet, again described even more specifically, untimely food consumption, or excessive food consumption, or vishama ahara, which means consuming food that is unhygienic. And I put this in the little squiggly mark to kind of also include what is predominant in this day and age, is processed food or stale food. Leftovers, yes. Microwaving food. And for those of us, we may not be so into using microwaves, or we may use it very rarely, but there is a large group of people out there who survive on microwave food. And it's so predominant. Apart from the processed food, it's now starting to permeate through society that processed food is maybe not so good. But the microwave food, maybe it'll take some time to get there.
But they say, well, what if we don't eat microwave food, then what are we gonna eat?
I work in my local food pantry, and that is the biggest problem we have with the people that come in to get the stuff, is they won't take the food that they have to prepare, even though we provide recipes and stuff for them. They just won't prepare it. They want the stuff in the boxes and cans that they just zap in the microwave.
Yeah.
And that's our biggest challenge.
It is, and you find this. So where's the predominance of these sort of conditions now? You find it in, unfortunately, and I think in the past 10 years it's become worse, is that this condition is starting to occur in younger and younger and younger. Previously, PCOS was found more in women in their 30s and up. Now, and after that, it started to include women in their 20s and up. Now, it is starting to occur in teenagers from menarche. From menarche, it's now become so prevalent that it is including girls from menarche onwards. So you can get PCOS at any time, because the diet and lifestyle has become so drastic in this manner that it's very easy for it to start affecting this menstrual cycle even from the beginning. That's why you're finding, and again, it's now so prevalent that they're learning how to deal with it. They're learning how to live with PCOS.
We need an army of arguing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's like where's the root cause? Who is the target community? Is it the schools? Is it the parents? Is it the children? Where do you begin the education?
You know, obviously it's
Yeah.
one person at a time.
Part of it is hugely cultural because now
Mhm.
people need 2 incomes to survive, right? Whether you're a couple or a single person. So, and also we accept that the normal workday is 10 hours a day. There's no longer, unions are going away 8 hours a day. People don't have time to cook.
Yeah.
They
It's the
don't-
breakdown of that tradition.
Used to be where one worked and mom raised the kids.
Or-
Yeah, exactly. And a thinking for me is I remember, I'm 62. And when I was in high school, we would always have to go to the same little old man in town to get our gym uniforms. And they were shorts with steps on them and they had a little shirt. And he said that in the last 2 or 3 years, girls have changed shape. He said waists are bigger. My generation, this is 50 some odd years, almost 50 years ago. Back then, something profound was happening in our culture that
That was my process.
McDonald's.
that.
Yes.
On board.
Yes.
Larger.
Margarine.
Larger.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, even,
This is not new. That's what's kind of scary, that this new normal.
but it's the acceleration has been so,
Yes.
it's so fast now. Because I'm not that, I have very limited experience. My years of experience as an Ayurvedic physician, it's not that much. It's only 12 years. And within that 12 years, I have actually observed this change.
Yeah.
And you would expect it to take at least a generation or so before this happens. But within 12 years, I have seen this change. I have seen this change over here. I have seen this change in India. Where, okay, if we're saying it's cultural, yes, it is partly cultural, but it's not just restricted to American culture. It's happening worldwide. That we are accelerating, we're accepting that it's okay to be lazy about our health and our diet and our lifestyle. That it's okay to go for a quick fix. It's okay to ignore the fact that you're hungry and just drink water or eat a candy bar or eat a snack and then keep pushing through it. That's called determination. That's called being aggressive. That's called good work ethic, where you sacrifice yourself to keep pushing forward. So that's why we end up with people who in their 40s, in their 50s, have massive disorders to the point where they have to leave their job now to take care of their health because they're not capable of doing it anymore because they've sacrificed their health for their jobs and for, as you said, having 2 jobs to survive.
or being the best you can be, or being the absolute, highest level superior to then everybody else in your field, so that you can always be excelling.
I was hopeful for a little bit there when a longitudinal study came out in 2012 about obesity. This was a really big study, and it affected the insurance industry, especially Medicaid, where the government said, oh, and the conclusion of the study was diet and lifestyle is the answer, right? So I was very hopeful. This was like a little while ago, obviously 2012. And the reality was that the government said that Medicaid patients, obese patients, can have 12 visits with their doctor for this condition. But the doctors could not deal with it because they can't give an hour for a patient, for one thing. They have no tools for diet and lifestyle. So here again, I'm going, great, are you going to step in? Here we go. And then just recently, even in the discussions this weekend, what the Western medical community ended up doing, and diet and lifestyle, preventative medicine, their way of preventing is running all these extra tests, diagnosing something that isn't there, putting you on medications or something they're not doing the diet and lifestyle piece. And luckily, there's a lot of very educated people, at least in the United States and different places, and we're seeing it through our own networks, and the people obviously that come to us are going, I don't buy that crap. I do believe that diet and lifestyle and all of that is happening, but it's even more important for us to stand up and say, really, this is what has to happen. And there is another option, out there. But it didn't occur to me till this weekend in this conversation that Western medicine did not turn their eyes in the right direction. They just went inward again and into this, let's use drugs and more tests and support our inner industry here.
But I think they did what they know.
Yeah.
And you can't really
Yeah,
blame
they
them
know.
because they did what they know.
But I think the newer generation is a little bit more hopeful, because I gave a talk in BU with first year med students, and I was really surprisingly shocked to see the questions and the openness. And the issue was that they don't actually have even a subject of nutrition in their curriculum. They have like a 3-hour lecture on nutrition as a whole that is included in part of something else that they have to cover. That's it. You have so many years of med school, you have so many years of everything else, and you cover the whole of nutrition in 3 hours. And they were saying that. They were like, we feel like we're lacking something. Another reason why we want to know about these systems is our patients are going to be taking this regardless of if we advise it for them or not. So we want to know what's there in the system. Another question that I got was, I was mentioning this to you, how do you approach patient care? Because I think we need to learn something from these other systems about patient care, which I think we are lacking. And it was really nice. It was a pleasant surprise to see first year med students asking these questions. So
They were
again,
asking that, you're not asking that.
no, they asked these
They're
questions.
asking, okay,
And
So
the
it was
nurses,
real-
the nurses too,
Yeah.
obviously, if there's, I am hopeful. It's the old guard, and it's like, certain people going into office now, like, this is the end of that era. I think that we're gonna see this like blow up in our faces, and people are gonna, run the other way, because it's not working. And the young people are seeing it, thank God. And the more that we can just be strong enough to stand through this, show up and be there, that's our responsibility.
And educating.
educating.
Yeah.
The more and more.
But this is scary, this particular PCOS, to get back on track here, this is scary because it is starting so young and it's affecting our women and, the heart of our culture and our families, and that just can't happen.
I think part of it is like, it's the new norm. Like,
It
the
is.
little girls are getting their periods and it's like, oh, how's your period? Oh, it's terrible. All right, let's get you on birth control so we can.
Yes, yeah,
That's what's happening. That's it.
yeah.
They're
They
11
embrace it
years
and take
old
the
and
time.
getting on birth control
Yeah.
to regulate their cycle that hasn't even established itself.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I know.
And then eating Doritos because they have eating disorders.
Eating Doritos because they're hungry and they just don't have time to get food, or they don't like.
Snack machine.
I
And they
mean,
don't
whatever
react
happened.
normal.
Yeah, whatever happened to you have to eat your peas and broccoli, eat it, even if you don't like it. Now it's like, oh, if you don't like it, it's okay.
Oh,
You
yeah, they
know,
cater, my
yeah.
brother caters
Yeah,
to his
it's
children,
okay.
each one gets a different meal, I said, Greg, what are
Yeah.
you doing?
You know,
It's sort of creating this culture of it's not okay to be uncomfortable.
Yeah,
You do everything possible to be comfortable.
right.
So there is nothing about compromise. There's nothing about looking at the bigger picture. It's I need to be happy and I need to be happy and comfortable right now. And no patience. No, I can't wait to be happy. I need to be happy right
As I say, in my opinion, this is gonna continue to get worse. And you have to be patient and stay the course that we're on, because it's gonna take several generations, many, many years for it to come full cycle, but it will get worse. And every day I talk to my wife, who teaches at in a university culinary setting, and the students and their habits, eating and everything else in a culinary institute, it's worse and worse and worse and worse. And they went to classes, they're like, I don't eat that. I'm not gonna eat it, smell it, touch it, or real, but you're in culinary school, what are you doing here? Well, it's cuckoo. I mean, it's just so far out there, but it's gonna get worse.
now. It is. And
Stay the
that
course.
that is the reality of it. It is. And you can see, I mean, again, back in those days, maybe this condition was like rare.
Yeah.
Right.
That's probably why, again, it didn't have a name, because it was
It
rare.
is a new name, yeah.
We may be lucky and hit bottom in the US before other countries. Now, 15 years or so ago, 20 years ago, I spent like 4 winters in Southeast Asia studying. And just in the 4 years, from the first year there, as I would walk by the schools where the children who could afford to go to school and they all wore their little uniforms, the first year they're all the Thai kids, all these skinny little kids, they pumped up and they pumped up and they pumped up. And they're all eating candy and stuff. And the proliferation of in Thailand of Pizza Hut and Kentucky Fried Chicken and McDonald's. So this globalization thing and U.S. mega junk food companies, I mean, it's got
We'll be ahead of it for sure. My daughter was in the Peace Corps in Peru. She was in this tiny village way up in the mountains. And all the kids, this was really sad. She had 2 little sisters. She had her little 2-year-old sister who just got a full set of teeth. Her teeth were rotting out of her head because of sugar. And, we banned sugar drinks in schools and stuff here. So the big companies go and dump it, in the South. And of course, the kids, love it. And and it's cheaper than anything else. And it was so disturbing, just so disturbing. So there will be this wave, and we'll be ahead of it.
We need to
know.
hit rock bottom first.
But-
I have an Indian client friend my age, and she's got no teeth, and she was raised in Ghana, and the British took the Indian folks to Ghana, promised
That
them
was
a
the
good life,
same for your.
and they worked the cane fields. But they're all, when they were kids, they chewed on sugar cane. Nobody had any teeth.
Yeah.
And she's diabetic.
Yeah.
Everybody's
But
diabetic.
that's
Mother,
not,
father diabetic, brothers, everybody's diabetic.
that's another reason why diabetes is so prevalent in Trinidad for the same exact thing. It's sugar, sugar, sugar. They cannot eat. So I saw this ad about Coca-Cola it goes with food. That's it. It has a very intimate relationship with food. You can't have a meal without Coca-Cola. In Trinidad, that's the reality. it's not just Coca-Cola, it's soda.
Yeah.
You cannot eat a meal without soda. Your snack is soda. And it's not like over here soda where you have artificial sugar.
Super sweet.
You have real sugar, sugarcane sugar, which in one way is kind of good, but the fact that they're drinking so much of it.
It's better than the high fructose corn syrup.
It is better than the high fructose corn syrup, but it's a whole lot sweeter.
But I
And
just also-
they drink it all the time.
Right.
I
all
think
That's
that
what you're seeing in other.
traveling sometimes in India and different places, water's an issue. And I remember certain times over the years having Coke because I couldn't get clean water. So this can be happening in villages where the village doesn't have,
Yeah.
you can't get clean water, but you can get Coke. I bet that doesn't make any sense. That's terrifying. Yeah, it is. And that's what's
Why don't they
happening.
just bottle the water?
Because it doesn't take money. You can't get addicted to water, friend, but you can get addicted to sugar.
Water just, how many of you have heard this? Water doesn't taste good.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I hate water.
Yeah, I hate
water.
water.
I hate
Water
water.
just doesn't taste good. It just
Yeah.
tastes.
Like what?
Yeah, no, it just,
what?
I don't
And that's
like
where-
water.
and that's where Eskimos drink it warm, which makes it even.
I was
So-
I was invited to sweat with some elder Ojibwe men in Canada years ago. And none of them could sing a song, so I was the white guy. I sang a Lakota Sioux, spirit calling song. And then between the rounds in the sweat lodge, they called for Marlboros and Coke. That's what the culture
How do
is.
you go on a vision quest with
Yeah.
electric?
They're all wearing baseball caps. Yeah, they look, you know a song? They look at me, you know a song? I'm like, I know a song. Sing a song.
Okay,
So-
we digress.
So,
But not.
I also, the X-Files kind of is like, is this a conspiracy for population control?
Well,
maybe
it's not, well,
Because
fertility. Not population control in the way you're thinking of it.
yeah.
They're thinking of controlling the population.
Yeah.
Get them all hyped up on sugar.
No, I'm talking.
No,
No,
And then
infertility
fertility,
and controlling
but then it-
population numbers.
Yes.
Yes,
exactly.
it could even,
And
who knows,
everything
get
is
to that.
digital, so all of your records are now on computer and.
Well, but they're doing it in a specific way that would be.
So unwholesome lifestyle, again, another thing that they've included, which I don't know how they anticipated this would be our reality, but they put in unwholesome lifestyle, which is mithya vihara, abnormal use of medicines. So our acharyas, more than 5,000 years ago, somehow anticipated that we were going to be so ridiculous to do things like this and put in abnormal use of medicine. I didn't put it in this list, but there's also the long description, one whole shloka, about abnormal sexual positions. And that's also in there. Because it's talking about yoni vyapat. It's talking about disorders of menstrual cycle and looking at actual physical damage of the structures. So they have this long description about abnormal positions in sexual intercourse that can actually damage or actually affect the normal functioning of that structure.
You wanna
And that's-
elaborate?
Makes sense.
Yes, I didn't put it in here because that would be a whole other topic, but it's there too.
Well, it's certainly pertinent to this day and age, and it may not be in the young women just getting their cycle, but it happens pretty early on, and there's a lot of,
Yeah.
variations in sexual intercourse for sure that's happening for a long period of a woman's early life, potentially in this country, because
And they start like at 12, 13. I was like, wow.
Right, and then what are they using for birth control? Abortion, what's that doing?
Maybe that's when the parents are.
No, birth control is the pill. First you get the
Right, but
pill.
also abortion is used as birth control.
so
You know?
it's legitimate
Yeah.
discussion. It's amazing that they had it in there.
They had it in there. I just didn't put it in there, but I actually I show you, these are my notes from when I was in college, when I studied Prasuti Tantra. And in there, I wrote this.
You build
Back-
baby pictures?
No, just of a pelvis, that's all. references from this is from Charaka, which is about 5,000 years ago. And they're telling you about using abnormal positions that affect the system. And even in those days when we were studying, we're like, what does that mean? Because we're in India, out in the middle of nowhere, and we're very innocent and really not being exposed to that kind of culture. So we didn't understand. We thought they were just putting arbitrary things in. But as you get out into the world and you see what's happening in society, now these are valid nidanas for disease.
Doesn't the Kama Sutra dictate that some of this abnormal position stuff opens chakras in different ways and blah, blah, blah?
But even that is down to science.
Right,
Even
right,
in,
right.
so having the knowledge of Kama Sutras and those positions, there's a difference and a manner and a way of how to do that. So it's not saying don't have sex or don't experimental with all these different things in your sexuality. But what it's telling you is when you try to do it in such a way that it's abusive to your body, then it will create a disease. So that's a good point, because you think in Ayurvedic culture is telling you don't do it at all. No, in India it's not that at all. It's telling you go ahead and do it and enjoy yourself, but do it in a manner that's conducive to your health. Right. So abnormal use of medicines, which is again mithya vihara, and also disturbances in the mind, such as fear, anxiety, and depression. So even that can be a causative factor. And this is again the same vicious cycle. You have this that affects the cycle, you have the cycle that affects these moods. And then they just keep playing into each other. And they just keep making each other worse and worse and worse. And this basically is another point to prove of how it originates from here.
And so maybe early sexual trauma and stuff could, with the mind, fear, anxiety, and then you grow up and you become a young woman, you're trying to get through your life like that, but you can't, you develop.
And this is exactly that case that we were talking about. Remember we were talking about this case?
Yeah.
And this is exactly the same thing of this issue, this history with sexual trauma that is affecting her menstrual cycle to such an extent that it's not, it's so drastic that we can't even say it's just that now. That was probably the original cause, but it has progressed in such a way that it seems that it has created now a permanent damage, a permanent change. And this is where we, again, can we really help this person? We can help them to make it probably not damage even further, but it may take a really, really long time, if at all, to help to regress from that. Because like I said, it's not just a gradual progression, it's extremes. We're going in extremes here. And this is what we're seeing in these cases, it's extremes. Okay? So basically, what it boils down to in Charaka, it says that improper unhygienic food is a fundamental cause for vitiation of doshas, especially in the perspective of yoni vyapat or yoni rogas. Okay? So it's nothing but, again, diet and lifestyle. So this causes a break or a change in the ritukala, and also can cause an abnormal change in the bija, in the ovum as well. So this is where we were talking about genetic disorders, right? How you can end up passing it on. So it's not only in the menstrual cycle, but it can actually start to distort their DNA that then gets passed on.
Talk about your vicious cycle, so then you're passing it to your daughter, that's passing it to her daughter, that's passing.
Yep. Not only just your daughter, but
you can unwind it in your lifetime if it's only been passed on by, maybe just your mother, and it was because of her lifestyle. If we can teach our children, the proper lifestyle, that's where epigenetics steps in.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we can. We can manage it to the point where we're leading a healthy diet and lifestyle. So we're keeping things in balance, that it doesn't become a vikriti. It is an abnormal balance, but a prakrita vikriti instead of a vikrita. Okay, so it is part of our prakriti. It is an abnormal change, but it's still an abnormal change without creating a problem. Okay, okay. So this condition is actually closely related to Artavakshaya. Okay, so because one of the main symptoms of PCOS is the fact that there is lack of menstruation or delayed menstruation, or in some cases no menstruation at all. Okay, so that is Artavakshaya, a depletion of the production and the cycle and the release of the Artava from the body. Okay? And we'll get into the details of this, of why it is a Kshaya as well. So a menstrual disorder where there is scanty menstrual flow associated with pain and variation in the shedding of the uterine lining. That's basically delayed menstruation or longer cycles. These are two of the main symptoms or issues with Artavakshaya, and also you find the same thing in PCOS. The samprapti here, of course, as we saw, the causative factors, what it does affect, it affects the Agni, it causes Agni Madhya due to the Mityahara Vihara that produces Ama and therefore manifests in reducing Pitta and aggravating Kapha and in some cases Vata. And here you find the Vata symptoms more because it is Kapha aggravating in Vata Sthana. This is the Vata place of the body. This is the Vata home domain. So it is Kapha that is aggravating in Vata Sthana. So therefore, automatically, Vata does get aggravated there as well. Okay? So it affects the Rasa and Rakta Dhatu Kshaya. So you would ask if there is Kapha Vriddhi, why again is there Rasa Kshaya, right? And remember when we talked about how if there is Agni Mandya, it affects the Tattva Agni, that then reduces the normal production of Rasa Dhatu and the normal production of the Upadhatu, the Artava. So you have Rasa Kshaya and you have Artava Kshaya. Okay? So that's why. And also remember here, Kshaya, one other thing they added, Kshaya also means Shudra Pramana, which means the abnormal quantity and quality. So that's how you end up with Artava Kshaya. So even though it is Kapha Vriddhi, which you typically think Kapha Vriddhi should mean Rasa Vriddhi in that sense, it is Kapha Vriddhi, but it is Kshaya of the Dhatus because of the lower Tattva.
For me, it's a really new or deeper way to think about it, because usually when I try and think in terms of the doshas, I think about qualities, and I don't take the next step to think about how this is affecting the doshas. Right? And that's
Yeah, this topic was a whole other layer, or a whole other I would say prism in different layers and different prisms or of looking at one thing. We're looking at it in a whole other perspective now.
I mean, it's almost like, we have, seems like maybe the progression of learning this is to understand the doshas and speak dosha / quality. So the next thing is to think of dosha / quality / dhatus, which then, of course, it immediately brings in the Agni. And then you're going through exact dosha, Agni, dhatu, Agni, dosha.
And that's what a system looks like. A system isn't necessarily always linear. That would be a channel from one to the other to the other.
Right. Well,
But this is what a system looks like. Yes. It's convoluted, but it has its intricacies of how one affects the other that affects the other. And that's why one of my teachers says that this is a lot like physics. because you're looking at how the variation of one component, either increased or decreased or mutated, affects the variation of this other product that then creates a different reaction that then can either increase or decrease on its own too. So it is a lot like that sort of system, and that's how we're looking at it in the system.
I have a question related to that one, and it's related to this, but also back to the beginning of the weekend where the Datu Agnis for Rasa, Arakta, and Mamsa were gone or weak, but the Agni or everything was being deposited Meta Datu. So if those Datu Agnis are weak, and this goes into the nutrition, discussion, then that nutritional channel isn't working. And so we go into this other channel that then just deposits it down in, Metas. All the nutrition just goes there through that other channel, that other way, I forget the term for that piece of nutrition, that option of the cycle of nutrition, what's it called when is it the pigeon?
Oh, no, that is Kedara Kulyanyaya,
Yeah.
it is like the irrigation.
Irrigation.
The gates are shut off on the first three, so
Yeah.
it's right down to.
And I'm glad you
So-
brought that up because I wrote notes for that as well to describe this, but I realized that if we had talked about that, it would have taken up the whole weekend. But that also
That's
comes
really
in
helpful.
into
Yeah,
proving,
just
yes, but
yeah.
absolutely.
Because this also is similar, in all of these systems. So I was struggling with that when you mentioned it earlier, and I was trying to digest it and figure it out, and then it just occurred to me that's and just you saying what you just said too. It's like now we actually have to look at the Agnis and what happens if a part of it is shut down and what's going on with the next level. So that's how it, okay.
Yes, absolutely. I'm glad you processed it and you came up with the idea because that actually is the description for it. And I wrote it down and I have the notes and I just didn't put it in
Yeah.
because it would have again been
Well, we
another big massive.
We can cycle around to it maybe a little bit more, and maybe you could draw it out a bit for one of the
Webinars.
Webinars, since it is actually pivotal to the discussion of the endocrine system and these disorders.
And it totally makes sense of the sitting in the philosophy going, well, why are there three different theories of the nutrition? Pick one, what's real? And this makes perfect sense. It's like there's this one and this is working and now that one's shut down. So this is the way I look at it.
And actually, all three of the ways of nutrition apply.
That's what they said, but I could never figure out how or why. And this is the perfect example. It's like, okay, the cyclical has shut down. And so now this system starts up. And that makes total sense.
And the fact that system doesn't always stay the same because if it's getting overloaded, it will also shut down.
Mhm.
And
Right,
that's
so then you're in a real pickle.
But I
Yes.
could also see in the process of healing that the pigeon one would come in.
Yes.
Because as we're trying to
And that's probably when it
reignite.
starts eating its own tissues, right?
Well, it can go
Pigeon
either
one.
way.
It can go either way. It can go either way. Typically, when it starts eating its own tissues, it's the whole thing has shut down. And what happens is that the food is getting good. It's like you're eating it, it just comes straight out. Doesn't mean it has to be watery like diarrhea out, but it's not being digested and assimilated. Everything is just passing out. And in the process, the flow and the movement through all these channels has become habitual that it needs to push something out even if you're not eating. So what it does is it starts to draw out what is already there and it pushes that out. It starts pushing out everything. That's why in the end of the shlokas, they also say this could lead to death. Because yes, it could really literally lead to death. That if it gets to that point of the dhatus just being digested by the body and being pushed out through the malas. And that's how you end up with these signs and symptoms. If you were to test the malas and you will find like protein. That's how you find it. You find nutrition in the mothers. Okay, so this particular condition manifests in the Madhyama Roga Marga. Okay, so note the signs and symptoms are predominantly kapha, but it's located in Vatasthana, affecting the Apana Vata function. So aggravation of Vata as well. Yeah, the next slide is the middle pathway. Next slide.
Let's take a break.
Oh, yeah.
It's about almost 10:30 and we'll just do a pause here.
So we're gonna take a long enough break to get the stuff out of the room.
Yes, they've got to get stuff out of their
Okay,
rooms,
that's fine.
so just come back as soon as you're ready and you'll have to move around.
Yes, I need to go to the project.
Well, if you want to work on my foot, she wants to burn off my foot, by the way.
What? No, she's throwing me under the bus again. You can't believe what she said.